There we go. Alright, we're going to be playing Tabby Cat, the game. Because reasons. He'll get bored and leave.
After you heard there were fireflies appearing, he's trying to chase him, but...
He actually likes the show. He'll watch it.
Really?
Yep, he watches Firefly, and Patty watches Battlestar Galactica.
Nice.
It's a little bit strange, and he really is a big
Patty's
fan.
a Cylon cat.
Well, did you see that picture of her where her eyes were all like crazy glowing while she was hanging out with, who was she? Which card was it? What's her face? The blonde chick. Wow. There goes my geek cred. Why can't I remember her name? Starbuck. Jeez. Like the blonde chick.
Well, technically
the blonde chick that technically was supposed to be a guy. But yeah, he likes, he's not a fan of Battlestar, but he'll watch, if I play Firefly, he'll sit on the couch and literally just stare at the TV. Mm-hmm. If I play Mass Effect, the game, which I don't have anymore, but when I did have it, he obsessively watched it. Are you hitting him with his own hair?
No, I'm hitting him with my hair.
He's gonna turn around and go like evil murder cat on you in a second.
He's like, Serenity now. It's just really funny.
He's like, so he starts kicking soda bottles off the thing at you. Okay, so we're going to just roll off to see who the first player is first, because we're going to pick our ships and we're going to pick our crew first, and then I'll explain the game, because honestly, it's more thematic than anything else. It doesn't matter. I mean, there are some ships, like this one that Aaron's probably going to go for, that have other capabilities. I really need to melt that so I can get that to go straight. I also need to paint the rest of the ships. Also, because I decided I wanted to paint them like full metal, the way to tell our ships apart is those little light thingies. I painted them the color that matches your board.
Oh, okay.
So just be aware that all the ships look remarkably the same when we play. We're going to need to read stuff to folks. When we do our jobs, that's when I think we should read them, as opposed to showing what's in your hand. It doesn't matter if we know each other's jobs. It really doesn't. But just to keep the game going, we will, when you place your job and start working it, then you can say, this is what my requirements are, and this is what I have, and blah, blah, blah. And we'll be looking at some of them anyway as I explain the game so that you'll know what those requirements actually are. Yeah. But let's roll off and see who the first player is. The first player token's really funny. It's a Stegosaurus, because wash.
Right.
Which I love. But it's still not my all-time favorite first player token. That still belongs to infamy. Wow. So, I won't be going first.
You're like, I'm not rolling that next.
So we went 4-5.
Kind of a 5.
Come on, roll 6.
Nope.
You never can conform.
Nope.
Curse you, independent thinker. Wow. All right, so you get to go first.
That's why I went last.
Here's your Stegosaurus. And I'll steal that back, get that off the thing. And first you get to pick who your captain is going to be. And then you'll get to pick your ship.
What? What? I'm not touching you anymore.
I love how he's just lounging on the board. He's like, he hasn't done that in a long time.
He's Space Cat.
Space Cat.
Floating through the void of outer space. Eating planets.
Or
Cat
just sitting on
Lactus,
them.
devourer of worlds.
Cat Lactus, I love it. Galacticus. Cat Lacticus, actually.
I'm going to take Marco. I liked him last time.
Alright, and then now you get to pick your ship. Which ship would you like to pilot?
They're all the same anyway, if I recall correctly. Except for
3.
Oh,
Artful Dodger's a little bit differently. It moves faster, but it can't hold as many people.
That's what I meant. Like, from the default ships.
Yep.
Default ships.
The Interceptor doesn't hold much, but it flies really freaking fast. That's Jubilee ship. Not as silvery white as it should be because I haven't painted it. Be Serenity? I believe you have a regular Mark 1 drive core, it says, I think. Main drive, yeah. I don't think it actually matters. It should be this. You should be moving 5. And then I will pick... Okay.
I'm pretty sure it'll tell you in the rulebook.
Are you gonna? Do you want Sash if you're gonna play that rigger ship? Because he's the pilot of the rigger ship. You don't have to. You can play whoever you want. Oh, Jewel Early. Where's Tech? Corbin? Are we gonna need Tech? I'm actually gonna take Malcolm because he's not flying the Serenity, and I think that's funny.
So you did take this guy from him.
Although it's tempting to take Companion because you can auto-complete so many misbehaves with Companions. Nah. I'll take, and then for my ship... Do I want to move faster, or do I...
Let's go in here.
Or it moves... No, it moves slower, but holds one more crew, I think. What is it? It has the Mach 2. Which, I don't think I have the Mark II in here. Crap, I didn't pull it out. Can you go into Osiris Shipworks and pull out the Mark II? Because I think I'm going to play the Artful Dodger. And Serenity is orange, right? So here's your ship.
Mark II.
Thank you.
Unless there's one
Where
that
do we
doesn't have a
start?
price on them.
Do we start at the
that's-
White Sun or what?
We're going to start in our own locations
Oh.
where we want once we're done.
Oh.
That happens. Aaron's gonna be the
Do
person
you
who
need
picks
more
first.
fuel? He's like reaching out and like grabbing the fuel.
He's also falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna. Well, when we start putting our people out, he's gonna have to.
To move his.
He's gonna have to move because somebody might want to go wherever the heck he's lying on, where Patience is, wherever that is. Stronghold, I think, is up there.
Patience with had a catastrophe.
I'm sorry, Toby, but you can only be a mascot for so long, honey.
It's like,
He doesn't care. He
No.
literally gives 0 Fs.
yep. Nary one was found.
I'm gonna have to get off our universe.
Get the hell out of our galaxy. Oh wait, that's the wrong show. Never mind.
You know what it is though? It's not even the board so much. Although he'll stand on a board just to interrupt us, but he likes this yoga mat a lot. Like when I don't have games set up on the table, he'll hop up and just nap on the yoga mat because it's like just smushy enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna take Jubal.
Ah, Jubal early. Are you gonna take his ship too?
Probably not.
I think you're gonna do the. I'll let you look while he's picking his ship.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling you're gonna take the carrier. 'Cause
Yeah.
It just holds so much stuff.
Yep.
It holds a lot of stuff. And he tends to like to take things.
What is our goal for this? Or,
I'm gonna read that once and explain the rules
Okay.
because it'll make sense. What ship did you take?
I
The
took the
big ass one?
The big one, yeah. Which has a default drive.
Yes, you have the regular. No, you have
I have
this
4.
one.
You're slow.
Yeah. The one that cannot be upgraded.
Yep. If Jubal Early is the one that has. I don't think his can be upgraded either, but he has an 8 speed, so who cares? I like that other one, that upgraded one that you can get, that you only move 4, but you don't have to spend fuel to do a full burn.
Mm-hmm.
I love that one.
It's a gravity drive.
Yep. So good. You're only losing 1 movement, and you
know
don't
what?
have to worry about fuel anymore.
I'm taking Nandy. I like Nandy. She's actually one of my favorite
Also
characters.
known as
from-
Amanda, if you play, if you're watching La Femme Nikita.
Yes, actually. She was literally my favorite.
She was so evil in that. There was some other show that she was in where she wasn't. What the hell, Toby? Bad boy. Don't do it. He's like, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, he's not.
He absolutely isn't. I'm getting overstimulated because there's too much stuff happening around you, honey. That's tough. What a world.
Well, since the only other ship that's any different
Says, I don't know how
is
you
the
would
Interceptor, which I
word
don't think I want.
react to me grabbing you by the
I'm
scruff.
gonna
It's
go
really
appropriate.
small.
I'm gonna go appropriate and make mine the companion ship and have it be the Bonnie May.
Nice. Here you go.
So
Alright, and I'll give you a drive cord in just a second. Let me just
It's
grab
not
those ships.
food. It's not food.
Okay, so
It's not
your
food.
drive core is right
I don't
here.
think he heard
It's
you.
not food.
He'll still chew on them.
yeah.
He doesn't care.
Tommy.
So if you notice, some of this stuff is going to be hard to fit because we've got so much on the table,
Mm.
including the camera stuff and all that. So, but if you notice, you have your main drive and then you have some slots. Those are for ship upgrades. The
not
space
food.
on your right
It's not food.
is for your crew. This is normally you just kind of keep your crew
Do you
stacked
keep
up.
the captain there too, or no?
Yeah, you just keep them stacked up, or you keep them off to the side.
There you go.
That worked. But when you bring them on a mission, you're going to want to lay them out on the side.
Okay.
Some crew will go with you, and some crew
Oh.
won't.
It's wonderful.
Did he scratch you really
He
bad?
drew blood.
Yeah. That. And then on the left of your ship, nobody can see my ship. You can see just the word. But on the left of your ship is where you put your active jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 3 active at a time, and you can have 3 non-active. So they stay in your hand until they're active.
Mm-hmm.
and I probably should explain this as I explain the rules, but essentially they don't become active until you complete the first part of one of them.
Okay.
And then they become active, and they can stay active. Like, you can complete the first part of 3 missions if you want to just get them all out on the board. And then where the heck did my starting money go?
Did you give yourself starting money?
I did, yeah. It's over here with my jobs. I've buried it under things. And then on the top, as you complete jobs and become solid with... Once you complete a job, you become solid with that person. So if you notice on the other side of your jobs, it's got a picture of the person who gave you the job.
Okay.
You flip that over and you put it on the top so you know who you're solid with. And they give you benefits for being... There's benefits for being solid with them. You can sell to them. And that kind of thing. In some cases, on some scenarios, you have to be solid in order to be able to complete the scenario. I don't think I picked one that had that because it's evil. And then another thing to talk about on your ship, if you notice, you can only have 3 upgrades on your ship. Some ships have fewer, so you might have 2, but most people have 3. You can upgrade your main drive by getting rid of the other drive, and anytime you upgrade past slot 3, you have to choose a slot and take out what you're, one of the things that you don't want anymore. And that just goes in the discard pile. It doesn't get removed from the game, so you can buy it again later if somebody else doesn't do so. And then this is your cargo hold. Your stash is what, more often than not, the Alliance won't automatically find. So that's your hidden kind of cache of stuff.
Right.
The cargo hold up top is everybody can see it. If you notice, these are kind of half pieces. You can fit 2 items in your inventory. So your fuel and your parts will take up a lot of space in your game. You can put them up here. If you have them in your cargo hold and a fellow player is using a bounty quest or taking a bounty job, they can steal them from you. So if I happen to share space with you and I'm a pirate, I can steal your stuff that's in your cargo. So like some people will mix it up and put some in their cargo, some in their stash. You can move it anytime.
Do you have to put them in at 2 spaces each, or can you have like a 1?
You can have 1 just sitting there. But you don't want to mess up too much because like passengers and normal cargo and contraband take up 1 square. They're bigger. And it'll make more sense when you see them, but you can rearrange it anytime you want. It doesn't really matter. The only time you can't rearrange it is if you've drawn a card that will bring the Alliance to you. If the Alliance is actually at you... Do you want a Band-Aid?
No, it stopped bleeding now.
Oh, okay. If the Alliance shows up, if somebody's already boarded your ship, you can't then rearrange your cargo, but you can do it any other time. So you can kind of move it around if you want to, but you cannot do it in reaction to something that someone has done, if that makes sense. So what we're going to do is I'm going to explain the rules before we place our characters, before we place our ships. Now, because Ian was the last player to pick his ship, he will be the first person to place the ship, and it's going to go in reverse turn order.
All right.
It just keeps it fair. But before we do that, let's explain the rules because I want you to know what you're doing so you can look at your jobs and decide where you want to start. So there's a couple things you want to look at on your cards. If you look at your captain, that's the easiest way because you've got some skills. There's all sorts of things on your captain's card. You've got a title, like for example, I have Malcolm Reynolds. He's got pilot and soldier. Now what that means is there might be times where your job might give you a bonus if you're going on a job with somebody with that label. So if it says, hey, complete this job with a medic, you'll get an extra 500 money. That's what those labels mean. In some cases, if you're misbehaving, it might say, if you have a pilot with you, you automatically win. So that's what those labels are for. Items will have labels as well. Like they might say fake ID on them. It could be something else, but it might say fake ID. And you can use that sometimes to automatically win certain misbehave cards. So the labels are important. They might not seem it, but they are. On the other side is whether or not the character is moral. If it doesn't say moral, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means that if you're doing an immoral job, they won't get upset with you. If you have a moral person and you complete a immoral job, a job that specifically says immoral on it, then they'll become disgruntled. And you don't want them to become too disgruntled because bad things happen. If it's an illegal job, but not immoral, then your moral characters will break the law. They're okay with that. They just don't want to do nasty, nasty things.
Right.
A good episode is, Malcolm is moral, but he was willing to steal that medication
Right.
for the train job until he realized the impact and
Right.
gave it back.
Yeah.
That's kind of an example of it. So he's okay with making crime, but he doesn't want to steal medicine from babies.
Yeah.
You also will notice, excuse me, in some cases they might have some descriptions in here as far as things that they can do or extra things that they can do. So, for example, I'm a brown coat. When you complete a crime job, you get an extra $500. And then on the left is your base skills. There are 3 skills in this game.
Yeah.
There's fight, tech, and negotiate.
Yeah.
So the guns is the fight. Oh, thank you. The blue. Oh, you have one of each. So the top one on his is the gun. That's fight. The blue symbol with the wrench is tech, and the green symbol with the Chinese on it is negotiate.
Yep.
Fight is obviously resolving conflict.
Right.
Tech comes into play when you're trying to fix your ship just in general, but also you can breach security systems, hack computers, that kind of thing. Negotiation is usually misbehaves. A lot of times you'll have to negotiate your way out. It might impact bribing. And also you can sometimes use negotiation skills to get more money out of your jobs. What a skill test is you're going to look at your base skill. So right now I have 2 guns. My base fight is 2. If I have equipment that can add, I can add that as well. So if I'm going to make a skill test, fight 7, I have 2 automatically. I roll 1 die.
Yeah.
The 6 on this die is a Firefly. So if you roll a 5, you get to do. If you roll a Firefly, you get to do thrilling heroics and reroll again, and add the together.
So they kind of explode. Basically.
Correct. So if my fight challenge was a 7, I roll. I get a 3 plus 2, 5. I fail.
Okay.
So it's like a lot of other games that we have, but that's it's based on the number here,
Okay.
and it'll tell you how many dice to roll. It's almost always 1, but sometimes you'll see 2 dice next to it, and you get to roll 2 and add them together.
Okay.
All tests work that way.
Yep.
Now on the skill check, it's going to tell you because sometimes rolling lower, it's a fail, but it's not like horrible.
Right.
Like maybe just pay some money and you can still keep going.
Right.
And it will tell you. It could be horrible if you fail. You may see a skill test that says kosherized rules in quotation marks underneath the skill. And what that means is you don't get to use weapons, gear, nothing. You just use what's on the character card who is doing the skill check.
Okay.
Make sense? And then there are also some skills or even jobs that will say bribes underneath that. If that happens when you're doing a skill check that says bribes, for every $100 you pay to the bank, you get to add 1 to your total skill.
Nice.
There's not always a case where you're going to get to bribe, but a lot of times you can, especially if you're doing illegal work. So that's the basics as far as skill checks. A little bit of misbehaving is in there too. On your turn, you're going to get to choose to do 2 actions. You cannot do the same action twice in a turn, but you have 4 choices of types of actions you can do. You can fly, buy, deal, or work.
Okay.
And so you can't fly twice, you can't buy twice, you can't deal twice. You can only do once. And I don't believe there's any cards that break that rule. So I know usually they say, if a card breaks that rule, it takes precedence. In this case, that doesn't happen. I'm going to talk about flying first. There's 2 types of flying. You can mosey safely, which means you take a ship and you move to 1 adjacent space. These are adjacent, that's adjacent. If you notice, it's adjacent to 2.
Yeah.
You move 1 space. You're not moving very far, but you're not risking being detected by anything. So just kind of moves you on.
Okay.
If you choose not to mosey and you want to fly farther, you're going to do what's called a full burn. What that means is you're going to spend 1 fuel and just put it in the bag, or you can put it aside if you want to.
Yeah.
You spend 1 fuel, and you're going to move up to the amount of range on your main drive. So my main drive is 6.
Yeah.
I can move up to 6. That doesn't mean I will move 6, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
And as you move each turn, we'll draw these cards for you, depending on what space you're in. If you're in the border space, which is the yellow areas, we're going to draw these Reaver cards.
Yeah.
There's some down here, there's some out there. If you're in the Alliance space, we're going to draw Alliance cards. If you're in Reaver space, you're going to draw a much smaller, more evil deck. Reaver cards.
No, rim space, yes.
Yeah, rim space. Sorry, not Reaver space. Derp. I meant the red rim space. Now, what'll happen is normally what you're going to do is you're going to flip a card. It might say keep flying. It might say you have a breakdown. It might say some of these things. When that happens, when you draw keep flying, you just keep going. You move another space, you draw another card.
Okay.
Okay? If it tells you, like it might say that something broke down, if you spend a part, you can keep flying. Then you keep flying. If you can't spend a part, you're done. Because you're basically kind of floating around until you can fix it. If it says full stop, you have to full stop.
Okay.
It just means, and you can't fly again later.
Mm-hmm.
It means your turn for movement is done.
Okay.
If it says evade, it's still technically a full stop, but it's a different type. So what would happen is if I was here, if I landed here and the card I drew told me to evade, I'm still not going to move further technically, but I am going to move one adjacent space from here because I'm evading
Okay.
this space. So I can go here, I can go there, and then I full stop.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. You might draw the alliance contact. Now, if you start, well, actually, that's not true. Anytime you're in the same space as the alliance cruiser, you will deal with the alliance cruiser. It's why we have this card. That's
Okay.
not technically one that you would draw.
Yeah.
You deal with the effects of the alliance cruiser. They're basically going to board your ship.
Right.
And you're going to stop, unfortunately. It doesn't matter whether you start your turn there or whether you end your turn there. You're going to deal with the alliance cruiser
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the same sector.
Yeah.
And each of these segments are sectors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of times you might pay some fines. There's just not fun things that happen with these guys. Now, you might want to go there because Amandul is there. That's one of the alliance contacts.
Yeah.
You don't want to go there if you have wanted crew.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes you yourself might be wanted if you've committed an illegal crime and you've gained a warrant that will go on your ship, and that way you know your ship is wanted. But you will have crew that are automatically wanted. I believe Zoe is one of them. She automatically has a wanted on her
I think
card.
so, yeah.
And what that means is she's been known for being a criminal, and so they will leave your ship if you end up contacting the alliance cruiser. So
Yeah.
bear in mind, if you have a warrant or if you have a character that has a warrant symbol on their card, you want to avoid that ship at all costs. You don't want to do jobs for him.
Okay.
Because you're going to run into, well, you won't necessarily lose them, but you need to pay $1,000 for each warrant or lose them.
Right. Okay.
So it's not fun. And if you have contraband, they take that. It's just not fun.
Yeah.
So if you're moving in the game and you draw it basically is the same thing. We have it discarded right now. It's the alliance cruiser. If you draw that, it's going to be the same thing. You immediately stop.
Yeah.
If you wind up, the reavers work a little bit different. If you wind up on the same space as a reaver, nothing happens so much. You can never willingly move into a space that a reaver ship is
Right.
occupying. So if a reaver's on a planet, you're done. You can't go there.
Yeah.
You have to wait for them to move.
Yeah.
But if I'm here and somebody places a reaver ship here, I'm still probably going to be in trouble unless somebody moves it off before the start of my turn. But I'm not. If I land or something brings a reaver ship on me, I don't encounter it right away. It's possible it might move.
Yeah.
It's less likely because we're using the Blue Sun expansion, so people can move other reaver ships and just leave that on me if they want to. But typically, you only deal with a reaver ship if you start your turn.
Okay.
So alliance is different. Anytime you're sharing alliance space with them and it's your turn, you have to deal with them. Reavers, you only deal with them if you start your turn. The one exception is if you draw this card right here, the Reaver Cutter, which right now is in our discard pile. It's going to get shuffled eventually. If we draw the Reaver Cutter, you will encounter the Reaver immediately, as if you started your turn with it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's flying. And basically the Reaver is, they're bad. They do really horrible things to your crew. They automatically kill one no matter what. I think, if I recall correctly. It's pretty much kill one and, yeah, no matter what you roll, you're going to kill at least one crew. It's bad.
Yeah.
The other action you can take is a buy action, and buy actions happen at supply planets. So if you notice, right near the Alliance Cutter, there's Osiris.
Yeah.
And it matches the cards are up there. The places that have jobs, if you notice, you can find Amandul there, you can find him here. You go there for patience. What was I thinking? Maybe it's not Amandul, it's Harkin that's on the Alliance Cruiser.
yes.
Sorry. Amandul is in the Space Bazaar. So there's some planets that will offer you can buy stuff and you can get jobs. Just watch on the board, it will show you where they are. But for the buy action, what you're going to do is you consider 3 and you buy 2. Now what that means is you can look at the discard pile, and before we actually start playing, I'm going to have Aaron tell us what's in all of the discard piles for the market. We don't care so much about the jobs, we've already got jobs, but we want to know what's in the market before we place our ships. But essentially what's going to happen is you can look at the whole discard pile and you pick 1 to 3 cards to consider buying.
Okay.
Let's say I look through the discard and there's only one that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I put that one down, I put the discard away, and I draw 2 cards from the deck.
Okay.
And then I look at those. Now, if I've done that, I can't then change my mind and go back to the discard.
Right.
So you look at your discard first. If there's some or none that you're interested, you draw the difference, so you have 3 cards. Once you have 3 cards in your hand, you can buy up to 2 of them. You may not buy all 3. Whatever you don't buy goes into the discard pile. So the discard pile is going to get bigger.
Right.
You can also, if you choose a buy action, you can also choose to buy fuel and parts. So if you're low on fuel or parts, it tells you right here what they cost. But it's $100 for fuel and $300 for parts for those of you who can't see this because they're too tiny to see on the game board. The other thing that you can do is shore leave. You do this instead of buying anything. So if you choose shore leave, you cannot buy fuel, you cannot buy parts, you cannot buy anything from the deck. When you choose shore leave, you pay $100 for each of your crew members, whether or not they are disgruntled. Everybody gets to go. So you pay them all, they go off, and you remove any disgruntled tokens that are on your character. Now, with the crew, we've already talked about that they have skills. They all look the same. The difference between your crew and your leader is your crew is going to have a price down in the bottom right corner. That's what it costs to hire them, but it's also what they expect for a cut when you complete a job. You must pay your crew. If you don't, they will become disgruntled. Now, sometimes that's going to happen,
And so, like, for me, I can hire the crew at no cost, but I would still have to pay them when the job is done.
Correct.
Okay.
And you can dismiss crew at any time. So if you can't afford them, or if you're just like, I'm not really using these guys, I want somebody else, because if you notice you have a crew limit on your ship. If you find better crew, you can dismiss crew at any time from any planet location. So if you're on a planet and you hire somebody, you can dismiss somebody else.
Yeah.
They just go to the discard pile for their appropriate planet. They basically just take a shuttle and they go to their planet, and somebody else can hire them. Although they can be killed. If crew is killed, they're taken out of the game entirely, and they don't go to their discard pile.
Okay.
Now, if a crew member has 2 disgruntled cards, they automatically leave your ship. They just get pissed, and they go to the discard pile.
Okay.
If they have 1 disgruntled on them, and somebody else shows up on the same planet as you, they can choose to hire your crew for their hiring cost. So if you have Kaylee, and it costs her $300, and she's disgruntled, and Erin flies up and is like, hey, Kaylee, you want to work for us? Here's $300. She'll be like, well, I didn't get paid last time, so sure. And she leaves you. Which Kaylee would never do, but let's just pretend she's Jane for a little while.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what's going to happen. People can buy your crew. I bought somebody's whole crew once.
He bought Rob's entire crew.
His whole crew, and River was free, so she just came.
Nice.
She cost nothing, but she was disgruntled. That was actually really funny because I was already on the planet. He showed up, did a job that disgruntled everyone. It was just part of the
He
job.
misbehaved, I think.
And yeah, but you had to do it to succeed, so he disgruntled everyone. Then he failed the next one, so he couldn't leave. And I was like, 400 for everybody?
So does misbehave automatically disgruntled?
No, it's just some of the
There's some of the
effects.
effects.
Some of them, and some of them, it just has to happen to.
Yeah.
It was just really funny. Now, leaders can also become disgruntled. It's a little bit different, but they can be disgruntled. They don't want to cut from the jobs. If you notice, there's no price, so you're managing your money on your own. If you run into an event that would kill your leader, they don't die. They just go back to the ship and they become disgruntled.
Okay.
If ever a leader has 2 disgruntled tokens on them, they fire their entire crew, and then the disgruntled tokens go away.
Okay.
They just don't trust their crew anymore. They fire everyone. Those folks go to the discard pile in shame, and then you're not disgruntled, but you're also by yourself.
Okay. That's good to know.
It's actually called "You're All Run Fired." You fire them, and then the disgruntled goes
awesome.
away.
That is very awesome.
You let me die twice. Get off my ship.
Now, gear is weapons, clothing,
Hacking rigs.
hacking rigs. It could be a truck.
Yeah.
It could be like that little rover
Jane's
that
hat.
Yeah.
Jane's hat. Oh, Jane's hat doesn't count against his gear. If you are you can have as much gear as you want. It just stays in your hand. Usually I just kind of put it aside. When you're getting ready to start a job or do a job or bring some crew, you pick which crew is going to go with you. And you can bring as many as you want. It's just how many do you want to risk. You bring as many as you want. They each can carry 1 gear.
Okay.
There is some exception. If you look at your gear, some of the gear will say, well, there's that too, but there's some gear that specifically says does not count as gear, but it still functions as gear. And in that case, that person can carry 2 pieces. You bring the gear with them. If that person is killed, you do not lose the gear, but you may not reassign it to another crew member on the mission.
Okay.
So if they get killed, the gear comes back to your hand, the person goes away. There are some cases where you may have somebody who's equipped with some gear who is on a mission who goes back to the ship. It could be an effect of that mission. They don't die, but you lose them on the mission. You don't get their stats anymore.
Okay.
So they go back to the ship, but the gear goes with them. You can't reassign the gear. The
Right.
gear is always assigned before you start the job.
Makes sense.
Same thing with misbehaving. You assign your people, you assign your gear, and then you give your shots.
Yep.
Now, some gear will have green labels on them. It might say firearm. It might say, sniper rifle. It might say hacking rig, or just hacking, I think.
Hacking rig.
Those types of keywords are good to look for because they help you automatically succeed misbehave cards.
Okay.
We already talked about drive cores and upgrading slots, so we don't have to worry about that, but you can buy them in different locations. Osiris Shipworks has the most of them.
Okay.
And then jobs are the same way. If you choose to deal, which is essentially getting new jobs, you go to the location, you consider 3 and you take 2, up to 2. You don't have to pay anything to get them. But again, you look at the discard pile first,
Yep.
make choices. If there's good stuff there, you pick 1 or 2 or 3. If what is in the discard doesn't suit your needs, then you draw from that deck.
Yeah.
When you are dealing, or looking for new jobs, you can also sell cargo or contraband to anyone that you are solid with.
Yeah, okay.
Now you become solid with a person by completing a job. So if I take this job right here of badgers and I complete it, I will flip the card over. It's going to go up above my ship somewhere where I can find room. And that lets me know that I'm solid with badger. There are some times where you need to be solid with somebody to get a job or to complete a job, but it will tell you what they buy for. So badger will buy contraband from me for 700 and cargo from me for 400.
Okay.
That gives you some spendable cash. Sometimes you want to hang onto your cargo and your contraband so that you can complete other jobs using it, but you may just acquire it from an effect and then you can just sell it and make some money. So
Makes sense.
that's just like where you're buying fuel and parts. When you're doing a buy action, when you're doing a deal action, you may sell contraband and cargo. You may not sell passengers. You may not sell fugitives. Now with job cards, it will tell you everything that you need to do. So on the top, in really small areas, it will first it'll tell you whether it's legal or illegal. So if I do this job from Badger, it's red, it's illegal. I need to go to St. Albans on the Red Sun area. That's what this is right here underneath the label. That's where I have to go, and I have to misbehave twice. It's got 2 misbehave cards. If I can do that successfully, then I can crack the safe to get paid. Now, on this side, there are job requirements. So to crack the safe, I'm going to need tech. If I don't have tech, I can't do it. I can't even do this job.
Right.
If I have a soldier, so if I bring Malcolm on that job, then I will get bonus money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anything in here is required to be able to complete it. Once in a while, underneath, it might say bonus. What that means is you don't have to have that skill
Yeah.
to complete the job, but if you do, you'll get extra stuff.
Sure.
Make sense for jobs?
I think so, yeah.
We already talked about immoral jobs will cause moral characters to become disgruntled. And then the
What
pay
about
tab.
subjective jobs?
What do you mean?
So some are moral, some are immoral, many have nothing. But there's ones that are subjective.
Oh, we'll get to that when I talk about pirates and
Okay.
powers. Sorry.
Yep.
And then on the bottom in the right is your pay tab. That's your base pay. Remember, that's what you're going to get before you pay your crew.
Okay.
And you have to pay the crew. So again, when you start a job, that's when you place it in the active area. You can have 3 active jobs at a time.
Yep.
You may not place them until you've met or started, or at least met the first requirement, which is usually go to some place. And then you can start working on the jobs. If you don't succeed in the job, that's okay. It's still active. If you decide you don't want to continue with the job, like maybe you can't complete it, you can throw it away.
Okay.
And then, but just it's a good way to slow yourself down. So you want to try to not do that.
Yeah.
Misbehaving is, I'm not going to talk about that too much because honestly, it's pretty cut and dry when you read the cards.
When you misbehave, you draw whatever number of cards it tells you to
Yep,
behave
in
one at a time.
order. So
In order, yeah.
what'll happen is if I have to misbehave twice, Aaron's going to draw 1 card and give it to me. I'm going to attempt it. If I succeed, he's going to give me the other one.
Okay, makes sense.
And then the other thing that you can do when you're working a job is quote unquote making work. So let's say you are in a location, like maybe I'm on Valentine. I'm over here. I can't buy anything. I can't sell anything. There's nobody there. I'm just some random planet. I can't complete my job right now because I don't have any requirements for it right now. So I'm going to make work. I'm just going to do work on Valentine for them, and I'm going to get 200 money.
Okay.
So you can do that too if you need to. And then we'll talk about the story goals and that kind of thing. Goals typically, you'll need gold like tokens, and then when you get a certain number of them, you win.
Mm-hmm.
When 2 or more ships are at the same sector, we can buy, trade, and sell fuel, contraband, parts, cargo, ship upgrades, and gear without restriction.
Okay.
We discuss what we want to do.
Okay.
Although, if you have disgruntled crew, you don't want to do it because somebody can give you a better deal and hire them.
Yeah.
And once everyone... I can't remember how to do this. I think you pass the dinosaur after each turn, don't you? Do you?
I don't know.
Conclude the game is the dinosaur player whose turn it is. Yeah, the player whose turn it is holds dinosaur. Okay. So after Sue's completed her stuff, she's going to pass it over to me. If she's in the middle of deciding something, like towards the end, she can choose to be like, I know I'm going to be done in a second, so here's the dinosaur to spead things up. But it's the current player token, it's not the first player token. Okay. Although it is also the first player token when you start the game, if that makes sense. So the other thing we want to talk about, because we have pirates and bounty hunters going in this game, the other thing we want to talk about is piracy jobs. You may get piracy jobs. It allows you to raid other ships, making off with stolen goods. It will tell you how to raid. We also have the new ships. We've already talked about that. And we've got the bounty cards, which are on your side. If you're boarding a rival ship, you're going to do a negotiation test or a tech test. Both are 6. If you get a 1 to 5, you botch. If you get a 6+, you're successful. If you're successful, you proceed with the intended action. In some cases, it's something on your job card that tells you what to do, or you might just be like, I'll take something out of your cargo hold. There are also showdowns, and those are confrontations between 2 crews that are resolved with a special type of skill test. The current active player is the attacker, and the target player is the defender. So if there's a showdown that you have to complete, the active player is the attacker, non-active is defender. The attacker first chooses which skill they'll use, and the defender then chooses which skill they'll defend with. The skills are chosen for the showdowns are up to the players and do not need to be the same type. Both players roll dice, add it to the chosen skill, the higher total wins. The defender will win ties. And then, depending on the card, you might have different things that happen as a result of the showdown. When resolving a showdown, both players can allocate their gear to any crew they wish before the showdown. And so you do get to use gear in those. Thrilling heroics rolls do count in showdowns, even though it's not a typical skill test. And you have to be working a piracy job to attack another ship. You can't just attack them for the hell of it.
Right.
It doesn't. The piracy job doesn't have to have anything to do with that ship. You just have to be working one. You have to be an active pirate before you can attack another person. Subjective morality. And so one of your jobs is a piracy job then.
Yes.
Piracy jobs are classified as subjective. That means that the morality of the job is situational as determined by whether the target leader is moral. It is immoral to work a subjective job on a target ship with a moral leader. So if you come after me, because I'm a moral leader, then your crew would be considered an immoral job.
Same with me. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's piracy showdowns, which are pretty much the same. And then when you complete a piracy job, it enables you to steal a number of goods from your target. Goods are everything a ship might carry in its hold or stash that is not a person. So you get to go through their stash.
Okay.
And the number of goods you can steal is limited by both the job and how much empty space you have. Okay. And you may not steal some goods, jettison those goods, and steal more goods if you don't have enough room.
I don't have that problem.
And then we also have the most wanted.
You have no stash though.
No, I don't need a stash though.
No.
So our current, we'll talk about those in a second once I explain all the rules, but I do want to tell you what they are. Those 3 wanted cards, that's the bounty deck, and those are our current most wanted fugitives. When a fugitive is apprehended, and it will tell you, I think, where you have to go to apprehend them. You go to their last scene, and then you do a showdown. And if you win, then you get that card. And so now you're considered to have that crew as apprehended. When a fugitive is apprehended and their bounty is claimed, you reveal a new bounty card. So if they're apprehended and the bounty hasn't been claimed, we don't reveal a new bounty card. because in the Cortex they only have 3 at a time, and it's possible for you to actually kidnap a fugitive from a fellow player if you have piracy jobs,
Oh, nice.
and then you can then turn in the
Or free
fugitive
them.
yourself or free them.
Yeah.
The way every time an Alliance cruiser nav card is drawn, update the most wanted list. So that's this card. So if we have this card and we draw it, we're going to take those 3 and put them at the bottom of the bounty deck and reveal 3 new ones.
Okay.
They essentially just update their records.
Yes.
If you reveal a bounty for a character that's been removed from the game, that character is killed when their bounty. You just remove that and draw another one. It says where they were last seen. We already talked about that. Where to deliver them and how much you will get paid. The showdown listed on each bounty card details the risks of a failed attempt. Some bounties are immoral. Moral crew become disgruntled when you collect the reward from a moral bounty. So if
Like
Malcolm turns in River Tam,
Yeah.
he's gonna feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Anybody on his ship is also gonna feel bad about it if they're moral. Now, you have to decide what you're going to use before doing the bounty, just like a regular job.
Okay.
So when you go to the location, then you decide before you actually make the showdown attempt.
Okay.
Once you make the showdown attempt, you can't change your gear.
Right.
Everybody can work these bounties at the same time.
Okay.
We can work all 3 at the same time. You have to use a work action to attempt to do the showdowns for the fugitive, so it's like a regular job, except you're working for the Alliance.
Okay.
And remember, the current active player is the attacker when applying the results of the bounty showdown. If the fugitive is in a rival's crew, you have to pass a boarding test, so you have to actually get on their ship. Then you do the showdown against the entire rival crew, following all the normal showdown rules, and you still look at the results on the fugitive card, though. So, for example, if Zoe comes up as a fugitive card and Aaron has Zoe in his crew, so you have to pay attention to who's in people's crew.
Right.
I can't just go to that location where she was last seen. I have to find Aaron's ship or catch up with it,
Yeah.
successfully board it, then successfully pass a showdown with Aaron, and then apply the showdown cause and effect, whatever those might be, and then I could potentially take the crew. If the fugitive is in your crew, you can betray them. You don't have to roll a showdown. They're toast. However, this act of wanton betrayal will not sit well with the rest of your crew. All members of your crew, except your leader, will become disgruntled, no matter whether they're moral or not. They're just like,
So you go on vacation after what?
Yep. Tip: if you wish to collect a bounty on one of your crew without disgruntling everyone else, kick them off your ship, then send them home and have them there.
That's funny.
But then you have to fight them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. When you successfully apprehend a fugitive, claim both the crew card and the bounty card. So you have to go through the deck and find them, and you take both, because they're going to get removed from the game if they get arrested. You just kind of put them to the left of your ship card and hang on to them for a while. And then put the bounty card on top, so you know that they're bound by law, that you have them. They do not count towards your active jobs, even though they're put on the left. They're not counting, and they do not count as part of your crew in any way. They do not participate in jobs, showdowns, or skill tests in any sort of way. And they're ignored for the purpose of Alliance wanted roles. Bound fugitives do not count toward your ship's max crew or cargo space. Ships transporting bound fugitives are a tempting target and are vulnerable to attack. Bounty jumping is attempting to steal a bound fugitive from another player. To bounty jump, you must use a work action in the same sector as a ship transforming the fugitive, and you have to pass boarding tests. It's very similar as if you're trying to capture a fugitive from someone who is in their crew. This is a little bit different from piracy, where you can't just attack anybody. If you got a fugitive, anybody can come after you and try to get that.
Okay.
If you successfully bounty jump and you get that fugitive, you don't have to turn them in. You can choose to rescue them. If you declare it a rescue, you free the bound fugitive. If you have space in your crew, you can make space if you want to. You can add that grateful rescued fugitive to your crew without paying their hiring cost.
Nice.
Or you can dismiss them. If you dismiss them, well, actually, regardless, you return that bounty card to the bottom of the deck. They may come up on the Cortex again.
Okay.
And then delivering bound fugitives, you just go to the drop-off location, and you bring the fugitive there. Once you get there, you use a work action to deliver them, so it does take up one of your actions. Remove the fugitive card, the bounty card from the game, and you get the money. Ships running afoul of the reavers while transporting bound fugitives run the risk of that quarry being eaten. A bound fugitive makes for an especially easy meal. If reavers kill your passenger and fugitive tokens, any bound fugitives that you are transporting are removed from play.
Okay.
So it's possible. And I think that's about it. There's another thing about Cortex Search that we're not going to do in this particular game. And the last thing to talk about is Blue Sun, just because the Reaver space is different.
Okay.
We've got the Blue Sun map extension here, so you can go to see Mr. Universe if you want to. You can go to Meridian if you want to. If you really want to, you can go to Miranda, but it's a little bit tough to get in there.
Also, just have a clarification question. So, this space here,
That is border space.
that
It's
is
yellow.
border space. So it is yellow. So that means that you do flip those cards. when
These
you
cards.
travel? Okay.
Yep. These cards are for yellow border space. These are for blue alliance space areas, and,
And then it's
those
the
over there
creepy
are
deck
for the
red
red
space. Okay, that's
Reaver
that's what I thought.
spaces. Yeah.
Just making sure that made sense.
Now we've already talked. We're not going to talk about the context and stuff. It doesn't really matter. We know about the deck. We've already talked about that. You can get, if you want to get new jobs in here, like this Ouroboros belt. I think you can do it from any of these sections. Let me see. Yeah, if it says to start a job in the Ouroboros belt, you can do it in any of these 4 sectors. This whole area is the belt, even though this is the
Okay.
only one that has a label. That's why they pointed it out. We already know about the Reaver space. We know the Reaver ships. The Reavers move. Desperate Times. This is a little bit different. If you have to brave the Reavers when playing in the Blue Sun expansion, you may mosey into a sector that contains a Reaver ship. So that rule I said moving in. If you're full burning, you can't, but you could try to sneak in.
Yeah.
And you can start. Of course, that
that
might still be the
that
start
makes
of your
sense though, with you being able to like drift through basically without
Yes.
bothering them. Yeah.
There's also more possibility of getting hit by Reavers in this game because we have the Blue Sun. What's going to happen is each time a Reaver ship moves from one sector to another, you place a Reaver alert token. Those tokens, the red ones. You're going to place that in the sector. So you have an increased chance of an unwelcome visitor. Each time a Reaver ship moves from one sector to another, place the token on the sector they vacated. So you don't put it where they go, you put it where they left. There can be more than one alert token in a sector if the Reavers move in and out multiple times. You can stack tokens.
Okay. Because they're hanging out.
Yeah. And then the cruiser doesn't spawn the alliance tokens. If you notice there's those tokens there, those only happen with cards. It'll tell you to put one. But when you resolve an alert token, if you move into a sector containing one or more alert tokens during your fly action, you must resolve the alert tokens before drawing a nav card. To resolve alert tokens, you roll a dice. If the dice roll is equal to or less than the number of alert tokens, you've got company. The player to your right chooses and moves a Reaver Alliance ship to your current sector, depending on which token was encountered. All normal rules for contact apply, so you don't have to deal with them right away. It's at the start of your next turn. But that's kind of how that works. If you're moseying, you still resolve the tokens. If you're doing it as a result of a full burn, you would do the tokens, then the card.
Okay.
Resolving alert tokens is not a test, so cards that modify tests will not help you in this. If you are an outlaw ship and an alliance alert token calls the alliance cruiser to your location, your fly action is over immediately. Do not draw a nav card after you've done all the resolution. And then moseying or evading doesn't stop that from happening. The long-range scanner array, which is a ship upgrade from Meridian, allows you to resolve alert tokens in adjacent sectors. You may do this at any time during a fly action, so you can kind of move them around away from you. And the rest is about context, so we don't have to deal with that. So we're ready to go.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to reveal what our story is. Then I'm going to have Ian reveal. Oh, you can reveal our
read the cards.
Yep, our cards, so we can decide where we're going to go, and also Ian's going to read the wanted, so we can, because we might want to go in those locations. So.